Good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday morning. And we're going to start off talking about, the Lemonada contract because I believe they've been markled. Am I shocked by this? No, not really. We're going to start with some background information because some of you may not be aware of what had transpired previously. So let's jump in and get there. Let's go. Let me give you a little background just to make sure you guys remember what happened. They had an extremely lucrative contract which was canceled after 912 days. And Archwell put out what was supposed to be a joint statement between them and Spotify saying, we've mutually agreed to part ways and we're very proud of what we've created. The original contract, we found out later on, was worth $20 million, but they only got like $1 or $2 million because they were terminated, essentially, we found out later on, for not meeting metrics. We all know that not long after that, Bill Simmons came out. He was like part of one of the head people there, and he called them effing grifters. He made fun of some of the ideas that they pitched. He said that Harry once had a Zoom call with him and wanted to interview Putin. Yes, Putin, over his childhood trauma. If that's the kind of stuff they were pitching, no wonder that their contract was 912 days and they barely produced anything. We found out later on that Spotify built her a studio in her house, allegedly. There were 13 producers on this show. We later heard it was alleged that other people did some of the interviews and they dubbed Megan in over the voice. So basically everything was done possible to get this podcast up and out. And Harry and Meghan, after it all came out, what happened, blamed the whole thing on Spotify, saying they were given no formal lay of the land and they were set up to fail. Right. Then, of course, it came out that Rebecca Sananis was the one who created Archetypes. She stepped up and said, no, it was mine. She stepped up and said the people in the background are the ones that are responsible and that they're undervalued, underpaid, and undercredited, obviously. She said, I was the executive producer and the creator of Archetypes, and this was not Megan's baby. This was mine. Oh, good for her standing up for herself. The next thing that happened was we heard that Megan struck a deal with this company, Lemonada, very small company, so small they were saying that any guests that come on are going to have to do so for free. Also, Lemonada said that they're going to reissue Archetypes so everybody around the world could hear it right. Like if Spotify couldn't do that, this company can't either. The next thing that happened was that Megan's podcast came out with a new cover, and all they did was change the cover from green to like gray, stick a lemon in the corner and write Lemonada. And that shows me that she was putting in at that time absolute minimal effort in her rebranding on this new platform. Maybe it's because they're going to have to come on for free. Maybe it's because nobody wants to be associated with her. But it would appear that Megan tried to start working on this Lemonada podcast, and she was calling her friends again saying, please come on. And they were all saying, no. That's right. She couldn't get anybody to step up and agree to come on this podcast with her because they realized that as soon as they do, the backlash is just too much to deal with and they would be, markled. Now, when Lemonada was contacted, they claimed that they have a long list of high-profile guests that are going to be participating in this podcast. According to them, on the list of guests is Serena Williams, who was already on the first podcast, and Mariah Carey, who was already on the first podcast. That's it. What they're claiming is that a lot of A-listers have their diaries filled 6 months in advance. Well, that makes absolutely no sense because if her podcast has now been pushed back to 2025, these people should have absolutely no issue signing up to be on the podcast. Now, they're claiming that Megan is going to be looking at some of her old Suits friends. Sorry, these are the same people who said they don't even have her phone number anymore. Or this Chopra lady, I don't even know what the hell she does. I've never seen her in anything. In the meantime, let's remember that Megan tried to copyright the 400-year-old work Archetype, and that was denied because another company did that years earlier. So the next thing we heard, her podcast had been pushed back to 2025. Now, the very lame excuse that was given was that Lemonada didn't want their new podcast overshadowed by the release of the Netflix show. Sorry, I don't believe that for 1 second, because she signed up with Lemonada in February before all of this Netflix stuff came out. I firmly believe that Megan signed with them and now they're having trouble getting her in. They're finding that they're having the same issues that Spotify had. Back in February, Megan was just gushing about Lemonada and saying how overjoyed she was to join the brilliant team and continue her love of podcasting. I'm sorry, I don't think she has a love of podcasting. If you loved it, you'd be doing it. What they're saying now is that Megan has to prioritize translating into the project authenticity and substance. I don't think she can do that. I don't think she can. Now, I do feel bad for the Lemonada people. They took a chance on her. It did give them a lot of publicity, free publicity. And they're saying that this whole thing is because Megan is trying to carve out her own identity distinct from the royal sphere. But if that's the case, why is she constantly calling herself Megan the Duchess of Sussex? She puts the word Duchess on everything. Let's be honest, this woman has no talent, which is why she didn't do well with Spotify. She didn't know what she was doing, and that's what happened. You guys should also know that this article points out that Megan won the People's Choice Award, which, by the way, if you looked at my other video, that was won by phone calls and votes in. So all the Sussex squad had to do was put it on auto dial. And the Gracie Award, which one of her friends put her up with. Now, but here's the interesting thing. I think Lemonada has learned what happened with Spotify, because what this article also says is that the platform is going to be working alongside Megan and her team closely on every move, it says, to ensure success and that reach is maximized. In other words, they know that she can't do the work and they're going to make damn sure she does. Now, here's the update for you. It's going around. It's being reported that the CEO of Lemonada canceled Meghan Markle's contract. I'm researching this, you guys. I've yet to see if it's true. But do you really think that after all the fanfare and after all the information that was put out, and Lemonada was so excited to get her, and suddenly she's not doing anything, do you really think they'd keep her? I think they're figuring out the exact same thing that happened to Spotify is now happening to them. I'm going to keep an eye on this for you guys. All right, you guys, I'm trying to keep updates on all these stories, and I will keep it up on this one as well. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and follow me over to video 2. Let's go.